If you're in sales right now, your obligation is to make sales every day, not excuses. People won't buy. People telling me they don't have any money. That's a bullshit excuse. Your obligation, your responsibility is to do whatever it takes to make sales, period. And if you're not doing that, you're lying to yourself. All right, thanks everybody for helping us get through our snafu yesterday. It is a really great day. This is our last call in how to navigate uncertainty. I want to go back and talk about what I was talking about yesterday, because it actually kind of interesting, because I found something that I want to add to the presentation that I wasn't going to do yesterday, but I was looking into it because it was a question in my mind. But so let me just kind of recap where I was yesterday. So I had been watching this interview with Kobe Bryant, and something was said in the interview that grabbed my attention, and I thought was just absolutely fascinating. And what was said was that Kobe said he was shocked when he went from high school to the NBA to find out how many players in the NBA were not playing to win. They openly admitted to him that the NBA was the place that they got to in life, that in their mind, it reached a level of security for them, basically meaning financial security. And they didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that. They didn't want to take a risk in getting injuries. Nothing. They didn't want to burn out fast. They didn't want to do anything to jeopardize that. And I had never heard him or anybody else say that before. Now, it's not like we don't know that there's professional players that they're not going to be rock stars. They don't want to be rock stars. You know, they're doing whatever they're doing. But this mentality really I thought it was very fascinating. So here's the idea behind this. The idea is that for 7 years, for our first 7 years of life, we're constantly getting this programming by our environment, the environment that we're raised in. The underlying idea in that environment is safety. If you really think about everything that we learn from birth to say 20, 22 years old, it's all about how do we go through life without making too many mistakes, without having too many problems, without screwing it up too bad. How do we learn how to be in a relationship? How do we learn how to hold down a job? How do we learn how to move through life so that basically we're safe? The most of the world, in one way or another, different levels of this, of course, but that is the message that's given to everybody: safety. So it's a little surprising, but then when you really think about it, I guess it's not. But it is a little surprising, first off, when you think about somebody who is striving to be above average in life, only to find out, and maybe they didn't even know this when they started, that they stopped at whatever place that was in their mind, that they reached a level of safety. So this is one of the things that makes it so confusing for so many people. The average individual, whether they're above average in their performance or their income, or they're below or in the middle somewhere, people have a predetermined financial set point based on whatever number and lifestyle they're used to in their life. And most people aren't even conscious of it. So I find it very fascinating that you'll have somebody that is striving to be above average only to find out that they're actually going to stop when they hit their financial set point in their mind, the place that they think they're safe. Now, on this board, I wrote down the 7 levels of awareness up to mastery, from animal up to mastery. If you've listened to my podcast, you've heard me go through this before. I want to take a little bit of different spin on it today, because I think the one thing we need to focus on, that we need to stay so very aware of, is the fact that we have the ability to choose. Like, this is the greatest gift our Creator has given us. It is the ability to choose, which is the ability to create our own life. It's the ability to create it any way that we want, but it has a subtlety to it. First of all, you're all intelligent people. You can consciously, intellectually understand what the ability to choose means, but it's so fascinating that in any one of these levels, if we're not careful, if something happens in our life, we can totally shut this off without knowing we shut it off and literally let somebody else's idea choose for us, even though we're thinking we're choosing. If you are going through life and a problem happens, very often we will look all around us, and as we look around what's happening, we're trying to find evidence, we're trying to find information that allows us to make a decision. But if we're not really thinking, what happens is the majority of the evidence makes a decision for us. We don't build an image of where we want to go. We really don't. We decide by default. What's everybody else doing? What are the experts saying to do? That's not choice. That is following a follower. I'm going to write that down. If you're going to choose, you can't follow a follower. All the people that are telling you what to avoid, especially right now, they're all followers. How do you know they're followers? Because if their whole time is being spent telling you what not to do, what to be afraid of, they're not thinking for themselves. They're thinking based on information. And we don't just do that in a time of this crisis like this. We do it as we're going through our entire life. I think we have to understand the different levels of consciousness that we go through in growth. And we have to really decide what is the experience we're going to have in this lifetime. Understanding we get to choose it. Understanding that there's no physical evidence that ever indicates in reality, that we can't actually do something. It's the perception of that evidence. Well, where does the perception come from? The first 7 years that we were on the earth. All of that information that tells us how to give meaning to something, all of that information is in our subconscious mind. And if it's in our subconscious mind, something is going to trigger it to come to the surface. And that's when somebody else's idea, somebody else's thought, somebody else's viewpoint of the world, somebody else's viewpoint of how we should live, somebody else's viewpoint of right and wrong, takes over our thinking, because this is the place that we end up in. Animalistic behavior. Animalistic behavior is survival. It's fight or flight. It's when we turn over our conscious processing and we let our unconscious take over our thinking. Now, how do we know that we're doing that? We're not choosing for ourselves. We're choosing based on what we think we should be doing. What is the safest thing to do right now? Ask yourself a very honest, hard question. How are you personally experiencing life and all the areas of your life? How are you personally experiencing them right now? And don't look at your husband, your wife, your partner, your kids. Don't look at anybody else. What do you feel inside? Is there an uncertainty? Is there a fear? Is there a worry? Is there a doubt? How are you personally experiencing this right now? I think that if we're not careful, it's very easy for other people's ideas to get in our head and literally trigger us to go back into survival thinking, even if you're consciously trying to get into, winning thinking. Yes, there's tremendous opportunity right now, but there's always tremendous opportunity. The opportunities are within. Opportunity comes through how do we perceive external things happening in our life. Our physical body has 5 senses that all the information that we're exposed to comes into our consciousness. And we have our physical body that tells us what to do with that information, and we have our intellect. The question is, what side of your intellect are you using? Are you using the subconscious information that you were surrounded by as a child? Are you defaulting into a place where you don't know what to do because fear, doubt, and worry are taking over your thinking, and you're listening to what everybody else says, versus using your own intelligence, your own power, your own ability to say, I have a conscious choice. I can create what I want in life. I don't necessarily have to listen to everybody else. I can take the information, I can gather the facts and make my own choices. But if the circumstance creates too much uncertainty in the individual, we have a huge tendency to flip that over to someone else. So let's take a look at this board. Now, keep in mind as I'm going through this, the one constant is choice. Through every level, we have the ability to choose, but we're not always aware that we have that ability. I think part of success in any way that you want it is to never lose sight of the idea that you have this ability. Oh yeah, and I was going to tell you what I found out. So I was searching and searching and searching. I was very interested to see if there was anything that Michael Jordan had said, something similar to what Kobe was saying. I couldn't find it, but I did find something else. I found an interview with Jordan, and somebody said to him, Michael, what was harder? The mental mindset or the physical skill of playing the game? Without missing a beat, he said the mental mindset. And the reporter responded and said, how did you get that mindset? And he said, I got it from my coaches. And I did what the coaches told me to do. Now, I can't see your faces, so I don't know how you're responding to this. To me, I wanted to fall out of my chair when I heard him say that. Here's the reason why. Do you have any idea how many people were coached by those same coaches? And how many times those coaches told those players over all those years that they were coaches the same thing that they told Jordan? Hundreds, if not thousands, of players went through their organizations and were coached by the same people. And those coaches told the other people the exact same thing. They didn't do it. They did not follow that information. They didn't take it as serious, or they didn't understand it, but for whatever reason, they didn't do it. And one person hears the advice, and they do something extraordinary with that advice. Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, what was the question I just asked you? How are you personally experiencing the COVID crisis? I asked myself this question when I was listening to the Jordan interview about him. How was he experiencing learning how to play basketball when he was in high school or college, or even when he got to the NBA? He was not going for safety. So when the coaches would tell him about mindset, to him, that's what gave him the advantage to win. He saw it as the toolkit to get him ultimately where he wanted to go. When you're not coming from that foundation of really wanting to win, the information that I give you or any other coach that's out there, you don't hear it the same way. You just don't hear it the same way. If you are coming from an animalistic side of yourself, which all that is survival, then you only hear the things that are going to get you the things that you need to feel emotionally safe, financially safe. That's it. It's not the information. It is, what is your position in hearing the information? What side of your desire, wanting, life experience is actually hearing the information? What side of it is hearing it? How are you hearing it? What is your perception of what you're hearing? because that's really going to determine if you move up this ladder. So once we move out of animal, which is just fight or flight, survival, we then go to mass consciousness. And mass consciousness is doing nothing more than looking around going, what is everybody else doing? In either one of these cases, a person is not in their own conscious going, what do I want to do? They're subconsciously reacting to whatever it is that they're experiencing. So it's like a person really is not going to dream. They're not going to shoot for the stars if they're subconsciously reacting to what they're experiencing. It's just not going to happen. If the first 7 years have produced a foundation of survival, of safety, of certainty, and I think that unless you're 100% sure that that was not your upbringing, you better be 100% sure that it was. Living in an illusion around what's going on in your own consciousness or your own subconscious, I actually think is very dangerous. It doesn't mean that you can't change it. What it means is you need to really say, hey, listen, there's a potential problem here in me going after my own success. And that problem is that there is this unconscious safety trigger that is constantly looking for some balance. It's constantly looking for, when do I get to that point in my life where I feel certainty and I actually see it in my bank account, or I see it in the size of my business, or I see it in something. Because if we don't understand that that is really what's driving us for a major part of what we're doing, we're in for a big wake-up call. A big wake-up call. I really would have never have guessed that there were that many people just in the NBA alone that were still moving through their life based on the financial certainty of where they had arrived. And because I haven't interviewed any of them, I can't tell you this for sure, but by the way that Kobe reacted in that interview, I would bet anything that when those guys were learning how to play, when they were in high school, when they were in college, I don't think that's what they were thinking. I think they were going after some kind of a dream. And they had no idea that financial certainty was the thing that was going to immediately stop that dream once they hit a certain financial set point. The problem with this is everything that we miss along the way. So I got to thinking about it, and I was thinking, another thing that's fascinating about professionals is how many of them go broke. They make millions of dollars and they go broke. And yeah, you can look at behavior and stuff, but behavior is a symptom of what's going on mentally. It is a symptom of how they're experiencing their own success. We'll always come back down to the financial set point that we actually believe ourselves to be unconsciously. There was a great book that was written, I think in the 60s, by Maxwell Maltz. And Maltz was the first person that developed what we know as the self-image. Like the current way that we understand self-image really came into fruition by Maxwell Maltz. And he was a cosmetic surgeon, and he had some very interesting experiences when he was working with people. He would have somebody that had like a bad mole or a scar or an accident or something, and they would come in for surgery, and he would move the scar or whatever. And some people would be amazing afterwards. Absolutely amazing. Totally change their personality. They're not depressed. They're excited about life. They love the way they look. And other people, he would remove something or fix something, and they wouldn't. Nothing would change. And it perplexed him. And he realized that there was basically two images that the human being was working with. We have the physical image that we see in the mirror every day, but we have a psychological image of ourselves also. If we don't understand that psychological image, we're subject to whatever the image is that's been created. And that image was created when we were babies. It really was. So part of the idea is like, well, how do we know what that image is? It's actually interesting. That's why I keep asking you, how are you personally experiencing what's going on? Because it'll tell you a lot about the image. How do you personally experience your finances? How do you personally experience money in business? That image is either an image of where you're going or it's an image of what you don't want to happen. So again, it's either safety or it is the creative process of what you want to create. Now, when we start to move out of mass consciousness, this is a person who is allowing the desire inside of themselves to start to come to the surface. They literally begin to feel it. They know they want to do something different. They may have all kinds of wild and weird thoughts about it, but they know they want to do something different. That's when we start to feel aspiration. We don't necessarily want to be part of what the masses are doing, but we want to move forward and create something for our own life. So in order to hit this stage, there's a separation that starts to take place. You either really want something for yourself, or you know you don't want to be part of the mass consciousness. You have a very difficult time not recognizing the fact that there's a burning desire inside of yourself to go in a different direction. And I think at this point, this is when we really start to recognize the idea that we have conscious choice. Because at these two levels, we're not consciously choosing. Here, survival consciousness is choosing. Here, other people are choosing. We start to get a glimpse of the fact that we have a choice here. This place, aspiration, is a big struggle for a lot of people. So if you had, let's say you had 1 million people come up to this level, probably 950,000 would fall off once they hit this spot. Why? Because they struggle with choice. Choice separates them from the masses. What is it about the masses that so many people are attracted to? The false sense of safety. We hear there's safety in numbers. It's a psychological principle also. If I can't get myself to go up to individual, and that's scary for a lot of people, I'm going to drop off here. But here's something, the more that I go through life, the more that I'm seeing is very real. It's not just when we first hit this. It can be any time in our life. Any time of our life. If something happens, like the COVID thing, right? Like this is such a huge metaphor for something that appears to be microscopic in most people's lives, because it really inflates everything in our life. Like if we see it big. If we don't recognize that there is no safety in these individuals, we can be at this place here, we can feel very alone. And alone can happen at any time in a person's life. A person can begin to feel alone. And if you start to feel alone, you can feel scared. So I do a program, it's called Day with Your Dark Side. It's about helping a person learn the skill sets that they should have learned when they were little kids on how to psychologically and emotionally manage their own life, so that all the information their parents gave them does not control their future. And it allows them to use this information all through their life. Well, there's a piece of the information that we get to, and it's called a core fear. I'm going to write that down, core fear. Most people's core fear is abandonment. Abandonment. Now, it is true that every once in a while you come across somebody that's not their core fear. But for most people, it is. And the reason that it's a core fear is because at one time in our life, it was very real that if we were abandoned, we would die. So I think we have this, it's in our DNA that for a long period of time, the first long period of our beginning of our life, it was essential that we adapted to the family life that we were in. Absolutely essential, because if we didn't, we would die. So there's this genetic predisposition to pull close to mom and dad so that we feel that sense of certainty. If you think about when you're a kid, one of the most painful things a child can experience is to be shunned or rejected by their family or their peer group. Why? Why is that so painful? You have to really think about it, because we have this huge desire to belong, to be accepted by other individuals. But why? Why is that so true? Because at a young age, if you weren't, it meant death. And to be accepted, we're going to automatically change our behavior, change the way we think. We're going to conform to what mom and dad want so that we're accepted. So we start learning this behavior right off the bat. And then we get into peer groups, and most people want to conform to the peer group so that they're not rejected. But really, if you think about it, we didn't come into this world with any experience of being rejected, that it was painful to be rejected. It was something we experienced as babies. That possibility was there. When mom would put you in bed at night, if you were sick or whatever, and in the beginning, you didn't know she was coming back. How do you know? You don't know. So you cry, you scream until she shows up to take care of the problem. You can't take care of it yourself. So we learn this pattern over and over again. We also learn to adapt to whatever it is that mom and dad want so that we continue to feel that certainty. Well, when we start to get around other people, we automatically start doing the same thing. It becomes a learned behavior. At these levels right here, other people, well, in this level, other people are doing the thinking for us. But we have to be willing, because the next step is individual. Individual is when you really step into the ownership of yourself. But what are you doing? Are you really alone? No, you're not alone. But psychologically, you're breaking the cord that ties you to the masses. So it's stepping out, it's taking responsibility, it's being aware of something that you want to create, and realizing that you're not relying on other people for your sense of safety, your sense of certainty, your sense of emotional well-being. You're taking all of that on yourself. And I think that's why so many people drop off at this point. You're not confident in it, not at all. As a matter of fact, you're growing into the confidence at that point. But you're also very vulnerable. So if safety is the underlying idea at this point, don't forget, most of the information that we're taking in is still coming through our five senses. And if there's negative information that's in our influence, especially if it's constant, what is that negative information doing? The only way we can go into fear is first by the suggestion of doubt. A doubt has to come into our mind. Something to cause us to doubt what it is that we're thinking, what we believe, how we're viewing things. That doubt has to happen. This is why it's so very important that you really be careful when it comes to what you're letting into your head. If you're spending the day on the news, if you're listening to people that are constantly talking about the negative, they're constantly in fear, if that gets in, and understand this, when you're not consciously rejecting an idea, you're subconsciously accepting it. It only needs to be on. You only need to be in the vicinity of it. And you risk pieces of that information getting into your subconscious mind. Little piece comes in, boom, creates the doubt. That's all that has to happen for your certainty to be gone. Just a little bit of doubt. And when you have let a little bit of doubt in, it's like it opens up this huge channel for more negative information to come in. Why? Because now what it does is it starts to control your focus. Whatever you focus on grows. Emerson pointed that out a long time ago. He said, whatever you focus on will grow in your life. When you're focusing on something, what are you doing? You're either consciously choosing to focus on something, or you're being unconsciously directed to focus on something. If doubt gets in, are you choosing from a higher aspiration? No. You're almost certainly coming back down to survival. There's something dangerous out there. I'm doubting that I'm safe. I'm doubting what's going to happen. So my survival instinct, what does it do? It pulls me back down into who I was before I had an aspiration and stepped into my individuality. And I immediately start looking at what everybody else is doing. I'm watching people that I thought were leaders be completely convinced by what everybody else is doing and making decisions based on that. And you think to yourself, how the hell did that happen? Doubt. Somewhere along the line, doubt got in their mind. If you think back to what I talked about in the conversation that Jordan was having, he was not thinking, how does he be safe? He was thinking, how do I be the best? How do I be the best? That was the one constant in that guy's life. How do I be the best? So what is he doing? He's putting that message in constantly into his subconscious mind, into his subconscious mind. It's fixed in there. So now it's like a radar. And what is it looking for? It's looking for pieces of information that he recognizes as a tool or that are useful that will allow him to become the best. So when Dean Smith, when he's in college, starts teaching him about mindset, he hears it as, here's my psychological advantage over everybody on that floor, on the team, on the opposing team. Here's something I can use that will give me an edge, that will make me better. There's nothing, and you think about the two things that he said, mindset was the hardest. Now, if you think about the kind of basketball this guy played, and of course you're always up, your biggest opponent is your own body, and it's the aging factor for pro athletes and injuries, right? But he said mindset was the biggest problem. Now, he had a relentless work ethic. He worked harder than anybody else. Here, the best guy in the world, and he works harder than anybody else. He works out harder than anybody else, practices harder than anybody else. And it's mindset. It's mindset. So why? Why is mindset so difficult? Because 24 hours a day, your mind is susceptible to outside influences. You don't even have to consciously hear something for it to get in your head and begin to change your mind. And of course, one of the things that Jordan and Kobe and several others were very, very well known for was the psychological game with other opponents, getting in their head, having them doubt themselves. See, it's so easy. If a person has an insecurity and you find that insecurity in that individual, if you target something out of your mouth toward that insecurity, it goes in and it festers. And it really starts rolling around in a person's mind. And if they don't have the conscious strength to kick it out, well, it's an insecurity, right? It's going to build. They're going to focus on it. It'll mess with their playing ability. It'll mess with everything. But now look at the financial aspect of it. The more successful you become, the more people that will warn you along the way. They'll tell you, save your money. They'll tell you, don't get too big for your britches. They'll tell you it's never going to last. It's harder to fall from a high. Like there's all kinds of crazy sayings that people have the more successful you become. It's like you get a barrage. And sometimes they come from your own family, right? If there's any doubt in your mind whatsoever, those ideas are going to get in there and start screwing with you. So now we have something like the COVID virus, which is basically affecting everybody, and in such a way that it makes people believe, or at least feel, that they don't have the ability to choose right now, which is totally not true. It's totally not true. You may not have as many things to choose from or to be able to choose in the way that we used to be able to choose, but it has not taken your ability to choose away. So that's where we can't let those little things get into our mind, because what we want to do right now is we want to grow. It's so important that we grow. So now let's go from aspiration to individual. We're going to accept that this is part of the journey. You can't take somebody in your head when they're not there. You can build a vision, you can have an aspiration, you can be determined that you're going to reach a certain place, but you also have to realize there is nobody else that has the same vision that you do. So you can't expect somebody else to do it. What we can demand of the people that are going to be around us is that it's respected. But understand, nobody really sees what you see for yourself. And that's important because it's your gift. It's the way you're going to create your life. I don't know that I want somebody else to be able to see the way that I see it. You shouldn't either. So we accept that, okay? You have to consciously accept that. Next is discipline. Discipline is the etymology of that word means disciple. It comes from disciple. A disciple means the student of, okay? So a lot of people are raised with a negative view of discipline in life. They think it's something hard, it's struggle, it's suffering. You know, a lot of people have a negative view of discipline. Really change that view in your mind and think student of. Student of. I can always tell how serious a person is about whatever they say that they want in life just by asking a few questions about what do they study, what do they read, what do they do in their fun time. You know, if I don't hear from somebody that they're basically consumed, they're obsessed with learning everything that they can about what they do and studying it, I know that they want what they say they want for a completely different reason. There is a very interesting correlation between people that achieve extraordinary feats in life and their obsessive desire to learn every single thing that they can about what they're doing. Period. You study anybody that's ever done something really fantastic, really great, you'll always find that they were obsessed about learning everything that they could about it. Everything. What do you do in your free time? Are you learning as much as you possibly can? Have you dedicated your life to what it is that you say that you want to do? Do you have dreams of having an amazing business, but in your free time, you don't study business, you don't study basically anything, you're looking to escape? If that's the case, that's not really what you're looking for. You're looking at business as another level of safety, just like most of those NBA guys. Now, I'm not saying that to be critical. I'm saying that for you to understand what's actually going on the inside, because I think the worst thing is to really put forth all of that effort, do something, but not understanding what the operating mechanism that's going on inside of ourselves, only to find out later if it blows up in your face. Because then you have to, go back and fix it, which is fine. Like, you can go back and fix it, but I think it'd probably be better if we avoided that. The other thing is the people that learn everything that they can about their chosen field have a tendency to outshine all the competition. And they have a tendency to get the goals that they want much faster, much, much faster. Because they learn everything, they understand it, they understand the patterns, the rhythms, the language, everything about what they're doing. But that's discipline, that's disciple, that's a student of, okay? And I think that we always want that. And if you're gonna get to mastery, you can't ever let the discipline go. This is what I'm gonna dedicate my life to. Remember, we started this off with, how are you personally experiencing what's going on? Are you still a student of where you want to go? Or have you become a student of the virus? Have you been a student of what we can't do? There are many, many people, I'm watching everybody that I can, that are making huge leaps forward in their business right now, like mega leaps forward in their business right now. Why? Because they're a student of what they do. When this happened, they didn't spend 5 minutes thinking about why they couldn't do something. They saw how it created an opportunity to do even more, not just make it through. If you're in sales right now, your obligation is to make sales every day, not excuses. People won't buy. People telling me they don't have any money. That's a bullshit excuse. Your obligation, your responsibility is to do whatever it takes to make sales, period. And if you're not doing that, you're lying to yourself. And you're probably lying to everybody else in your business. If you're in business, it's about moving that business forward. If you say, well, I can't because the virus has got people not being able to pay and nobody will answer the phone. I'm like, are you serious? That's going to stop you. That's going to stop you from moving forward. Well, we know where your set point is. It's safety and laziness. Period. Like, you have to look at the facts of what you're doing if you're going to change it. What is your responsibility right now? What are you being a student of? Are you being a student of excuses? Are you being a student of why I can't? Are you being a student of the masses, what everybody else is talking about that's going wrong? Like, it's very easy to find millions of people talking about why people won't do something right now. Good, go hang with them, loser. Go hang with them. You can be part of the masses that go broke, that get sick, that blow it. That's the only thing you're going to get there. But you'll feel good because you'll all be broke together. How's that? And then you'll find somebody to blame. All it does is take you right down a hole. Be a student. Every obstacle seriously brings with it a greater opportunity. Your job, your responsibility in whatever area of your business you're in is to find that opportunity. Every day, obsessively looking for the opportunity, looking for the opportunity, looking for the door to walk through, trying to find another way to communicate, trying to find another way to approach people, to contact them, and never stopping because some people won't do something. You have to find the ones that will. Yeah, there's a lot more that won't right now. So, are you going to let their decision in life determine where you go? That is a student of failure. That's a student of comfort. It's a student of failure. It's a student of safety, a person that just wants to be emotionally safe. They don't want to be stretched. They don't want to get up every day and say, how can I do better? How can I move forward faster? Think about this. Next is experience. Experience. Now, these two are very interesting because they're constantly going back and forth. You have discipline and experience. Discipline is going to allow you to produce a result. So you produce a result. It's like, okay, this is a great result. This result sucks. Now what do I engage? Choice. I can do something different because I'm having the experience. Through the repetition of making wise choices, when you're getting the experience, eventually we get to the level of mastery. But understand this, mastery is not a place to just rest on your laurels. It's not a place to just sit down and go, okay, this is it. Mastery is a mindset that constantly moves forward. It's not a destination. It means that you will forever keep learning. You will forever keep applying what you're doing. You will forever create new goals and inspirations for yourself. It's not, I have it all. There's nothing else to learn. I've reached the top of the mountain. That's a safety mindset. I've reached the top of the mountain. There is no top to the mountain. What are you really saying? It's too hard? I can't do it? Or what's even worse is the person that's forever talking about, when am I going to get there? When am I going to get there? Where is it that you really think you're getting to? If you say that, if you're one of the people that says, when am I going to get there? You need to do some serious introspective work and ask yourself, where is it that where is that place inside of yourself that you're trying to get to? Because if you say, when am I going to get there? Here's what's obvious. You don't like where you are now. Now, I think that we should all have goals and all be focused and all be working in a direction to keep constantly creating something wonderful in the future. But you should be enjoying now. You should be present in the now. So it's very interesting when a person says, when am I going to get there? Because they're certainly not happy with what's actually happening right now. We're never there. We're never there. There is no there. Really think. Because you can be up here in mastery, and then something happens that you've never expected to happen before, and instantly it knocks you all the way back down here. For what reason? Because you don't think you have the ability to choose. Understand this. Every excuse you make, every logical reason you give for not doing something is an abdication of your choice onto another person or a circumstance. So in your mind, what you did was, let's say you were in here somewhere. When you say, I couldn't, I didn't, they wouldn't, I don't know how, whatever, you instantly go all the way back down to the bottom. Instantly. You're not choosing in that moment. You're letting a person choose, another person choose, a problem choose, a circumstance choose, a tragedy choose, a bad choice on your own part choose. Every single day, the most amazing thing that we have, even if all of your life was crap right up to this second, you can make a choice right now to change that. And it doesn't have to be anymore. The quality of your life is the quality of the choices that you make with the clear understanding of why you're making them. It's very fascinating because we all get to experience something in life that'll be written in history forever, because nothing's going to be the same as it was before. Everything's changing right now. We're in the middle of the biggest change, one of the biggest changes in history. And we don't know what it's going to be like on the other side of this. But here's what we do know. It won't be the same. Here's the question. Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to create? Are you willing to accept that it's not going to be the same? Because if you stay in denial, guess what happens? Your life and only your life gets put on pause. You don't get to move forward. Denial keeps you stuck in a problem that you have no power to change. Now, make sure you hear what I said. Keeps you stuck in a problem that you have no power to change. You have the power to change your life. You have the power to change your experience. You have the power to change your business. You don't have the power to change the entire experience for everyone. You don't have the power to change the things that are automatically going to change because of this. Like, everything is constantly changing. It's just that we're all going through a mass change right now. Who do you want to be on the other side of it? When we get off of this, probably one of the most important things you could ever do in your life is to sit down and honestly ask yourself, how am I experiencing this? Like, go for a walk, lock yourself in a room, get away from everybody, sit down with a pen and a paper and just sit there. And ask yourself, what is going on in me right now? How am I experiencing this? And then pay very close attention to what you're feeling, how you're behaving, what you're thinking, and don't slough it off. Don't sugarcoat it. If you feel like shit, say, I feel like fucking shit. If you feel disempowered, say you feel disempowered. If you feel great, say you feel great. But say what's actually going on. Because if you don't say what's going on, you're suppressing it. You're denying it. And that doesn't do you any good. Because anything that you suppress will express itself in an unhealthy way. And then you want to ask yourself, okay, here's where I am. There's no shame in where you are. Write it down. Now ask yourself, where do I want to go? And whatever that answer is, be okay with that answer. Like yeah, it'd be great if you had a great big vision, right? If you don't, that's okay too. It's great if you have a little vision. Just have a vision of something else and write that down. Now, ask yourself this question. Who do I need to be right now to create that vision that I want? Who do I need to be every day? If you don't know, get on the phone with Steph or Sarah. Email us, call us, text us, DM us. We'll talk to you. Who do you need to be every day to get where you want to go? And when somebody tells you, like if you ask for advice and somebody says, hey, do this, don't say, I don't have any fucking money. Like, what the hell's the matter with you? Don't say I can't do it right now because my spouse won't let me. Like, think. Do you really want to go where you say you want to go? And for those of you that are in business, you got to realize your job is to help to influence somebody to the best side of them and get them to take action. It's not to side with them so everybody feels good in an uncertain time. That's not leadership. Leadership is a lot of things, but in tough times, it's very often a swift kick in the ass. Because think about something. If you're afraid to offend somebody, then what did you do with your choice? You moved it down here. And now you, just by the mere act of not wanting to offend somebody's sensibilities during this problem, you side with their belief. You side with it. Because you're saying their belief is more important than yours. Except their belief keeps them stuck in the muck and the mire of the problem. Any person that wants to be great in life has to realize you don't become great by attacking the problem at the level of the problem. You have to see yourself on the other side of that problem. You have to see yourself there. Now, it doesn't mean you know how to get there. It means you have to see yourself there. Because if you don't see yourself there, where do you see yourself? At the level of the problem. Then the problem controls your understanding in life. It controls your vision. It controls your focus. It controls your drive. And it controls your excuses. Controls your excuses. Like the greatest thing that a person in business or a salesperson can do right now, if they don't make a sale, is to tell their boss or their accountability partner, whoever, I didn't make a sale today because I bought into other people's excuses. Like, start taking some fucking responsibility. Stop saying nobody would buy, nobody's got any money. Really? That's really interesting. We all better pack it up and just cash life in if that's the truth. What are you doing? Where are you going? Don't let what's happening right now make that decision for you. Be determined that you're going to stay in discipline, that you're going to stay in mastery, and you're going to stay in experience, which is the actual doing of the thing, okay? Just so you know. All right. Steph, what do you say we take some questions?
Let's do it. All right. If you have a question, go ahead and type it in the Q&A. And just like just like the previous weeks, we'll have the replay of this ready for you by 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. You'll get it via email in your inbox by 10 a.m. tomorrow. All right, let's load up this question and answer and get this party started. Question number 1, David. This question is coming from Bria.
Hi,
Hello,
Bria.
David. Appreciative of this weekly session and the knowledge you are sharing during this time. Question for you. How do you let go of a need for security or survival consciousness during this pandemic? How to identify hidden beliefs or blocks that are stopping me from moving forward because of my need for security?
Yeah, so here's the thing. When a person's in fear and they're being controlled by, they feel insecure, or you've recognized that you have a need for security, let's get to the truth of that. What is that? It means you don't understand who you really are. That's all it is. You don't understand who you really are. You really don't understand your greatness. I think what's interesting about that comment is that there's been for years a lot of talk about greatness, a person's greatness. It's one thing to say it, it's another thing to understand it. So the idea is to first understand that there is no security. It doesn't exist. It's something that has been made up and taught to people as if it's a place, right? Like there's this place that we can go to that we're secure. Security comes from awareness, and it's the awareness of being able to think and make conscious choices that keep us from experiencing a negative consequence in life. It's not a place. It's not a place. Doing nothing is not secure. So first, you have to become aware of who you are. You have to become aware that there is no security. There is no security. So let me go into that a little deeper. If you're finding yourself trying to cling to security, consciously understand that you're trying to cling to something that does not exist, number one. But in the moment of doing that, you're giving away your choice. That is the thing that will keep you secure. If you make a conscious choice, you enact the law of cause and effect, you enact the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, you move into your creative self, and you manifest a new result. But when you do that, you have to realize how great that is. That is our creative ability. Those are the gifts that we've been given by our Creator. That's what makes us so amazing, is that we have the ability to create a different result in our life, regardless of what's happening in the world. So you have to really study that. Now, how do you study it? Well, you can study it like books. You can study it on the internet. But you really study it when you apply it every day. When you get out of your head and you get into the doing of something and you say, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep creating this new result. I don't care what anybody else thinks. I am going to create that result. When you do that, you rewire your brain to see that you can cause the creation of the thing that you think you need to be safe. But all the power goes to you because you're the one that's doing it. That's where confidence builds. That's where courage builds. That's where faith builds. That's where you really get to understand the power of who you are to change something in your own life. It's not folding up your tent and putting your head under the pillow and you think nothing's going to happen.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question. How do you know what your core fear is? Is it worth determining, or does it really matter?
It matters, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter outside of a lot of other things. But I would just guess, like almost 100%, it's abandonment. It's abandonment. Because it is almost for every single person. The only time it's not abandonment is if there was some kind of major trauma in a person's early life that rewired it to something else. Like a person could have a core fear of men, or a core fear of being raped, or a core fear of murder. Like there would have to be a major trauma that would kind of flip the switch, because the core fear is going to go right along with what is it that kept us alive in our life. And it's actually pretty natural. The thing is that number one, we're not born with it. It's cultivated by the suggestion that our parents could go away, we could be abandoned. So that's where it comes from.
Thank you. Next question, this is from Patty. David, what if you had parents that put you down and you did what you set out to do anyway and proved them wrong? How does this impact you going forward? Is it okay to have someone's negativity push you to succeed?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Many people take the pain of their childhood and use that to propel them, because we all have this rebellion in us. Rebellion is really us wanting to break away from the parental figures in our life. It's absolutely natural. So very often a person will take the pain of their life, they'll rebel against it, and they'll be like, fuck you, I'm going to show you that I can do this regardless of what you think. I think at some point what you want to do is break the tie of that, because it's still in relationship to the problem. So when we rebel against a problem and we get far away from it, if we don't ever drop it, we have to realize that we're staying in relationship to that problem for the rest of our life. So the idea is that we evolve, okay? We evolve and move into aspiration and not just rebellion to a problem. So ask yourself, like, forget about your parents now. Like, great if you've done fantastic. That, like, congratulations. Now it's time to think about, what do you want? Like, break free of that relationship and say, what do I really want to create for me? Fuck everybody else. What do I really want? And just let it go.
Thank you. Next question is coming from Connie. I'm pretty much in the same space David was in that trailer. I hate my job, and I have allowed it to impact me to now have some health issues. It is an essential business, and I wish I would have been laid off. I also feel some resentment that there are people out there that are receiving unemployment and making almost as much as me doing nothing while I have to bust my ass. He's on fire, so he's probably going to call me on my shit. Also, thank you for this powerful lesson.
You're welcome. Yeah, why would you have any resentment against people that are on unemployment that are making as much or more than you and they don't have to do anything, right? They seriously don't. They're sitting at home. They're laughing at you right now. They're spending money. They're eating pizza. They're drinking beer. They're fucking their brains out. Like, they're having a great time and you're paying for it. So what are you going to do about you? Because looking at that keeps you from doing whatever you're afraid or insecure to do yourself. That's all that is. The world's not fair. There is no fair. Fair is kind of like safety. Would you say so, Steph?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. It's all about cause and effect and what you're going to actually change for your life. I think it's a great up-leveler in our own consciousness when we realize that we don't need justice to be done for everybody else in order for us to be free. That only ties you to that problem. But the question is, why would it do that? Because you're afraid to address something in yourself. So you're going to look at what's wrong with everybody else. Ask yourself the question that I've asked everybody: how are you experiencing this? Why are you so focused on what other people are getting that they don't deserve, or because they're lazy and they don't want to do anything? Why is that such a problem for you? And you might find that you're doing a little bit of that yourself somewhere. But ask yourself the question and then do the thing that you're afraid to do right now. That'll break you free of that.
Perfect. Next question is from Dana. Hi, David. This session was truly amazing. Thank you. I am in sales within my own recruiting business, and yes, it did slow down a bit, but I was still able to make new placements and get new clients because I felt that I had a positive mindset to move forward. However, sometimes when I feel that things are almost going too well and I'm not overly worried about the virus, then that doubt comes into my head. Like, how could this be without any issues with this virus, etc.? What do you say to yourself when that moment of doubt comes into your mind to block it out and keep pushing forward so that it doesn't bring your mindset down?
Don't do that. Switch it to gratitude. Switch it to gratitude. Like, we all have to guard our mind against doubt. Everybody does. Nobody's ever immune to it because we're bombarded with it all the time. But when you recognize it, just say thank you and let it go past, and then find something to be grateful for. So if it's going great right now in your business, be grateful for it. Stay in the appreciation of what you have. Consistently look for people to help. The best way to solve your own problem is to go find a way to help somebody else. That is like, we have to get out of our own head. Here's another thing. Ask yourself, what are you focusing on, right? It's really important to know what it is that you're focusing on all the time, because not only can that steal your happiness, but it can really whittle away at your vision in life. So a lot of people are focusing on what's missing right now, like what's missing in their life, because so much has changed. I mean, like that's a very solid truth. But if we're finding that we're focusing on what's missing, if we find that we're focusing on what was in our past, then we're not in the present. And if we're not in the present, we can't find anything to be grateful for right now because we're looking at what we don't have or how things were. You're being resistant to what's going on. So yeah, you can be resistant and right, but you'll be miserable if you do that. So really the question is, what can I focus on right now that I'm happy about? How can I accept what happened? So I moved into acceptance. And then I need to move into a future thinking of a vision or a goal for myself that I really want to create, that I can get excited about, and then start looking at how I'm going to help people in order to get there. Because every goal is achieved, really, by adding value to something. You either add value to your own life or you add value to somebody else's life. So that's how I would do that.
Great, thank you. Next question. How do I get clearer on who do I need to be in order to get to where I want to go?
So if you don't know, you need to set an appointment to talk to Steph or Sarah, like period. I can't tell you without knowing what it is that you're currently experiencing. But here's the idea. There are very solid steps that a person needs to take, but they have to understand a couple things. Where are you now based on what you want? So I don't know where you are now, and I don't know what it is that you want. So it's difficult for me to say. But you're looking at, where am I now? Where am I now with my current mindset? Where am I in my experience in life? Where am I with my resources? And where am I in conjunction where do I want to go? And what do I need to start working on in order to change that? Like, what are the first steps that I need to focus on in order to get to manifest the goal that I want? So I think you just need to have a conversation with someone and help you think through it.
Perfect. Next question is from Dawn. My biggest challenge is deciding what I want to offer. I believe once I get clarity on that, the rest will fall into place. I was offering services based on what I thought I could do. Now I'm trying to reskill into something I love or want to offer. I'm taking classes, reading books on topics I'm interested in, and talking to people in the space where I want to be and offering to help them out. Does this constitute doing?
I think so, unless I'm missing something. She's doing it, right?
Yeah, but I think part of the smokescreen of all this is that she says her biggest challenge is deciding what I want to offer. She's already reaching out and offering to help them out. So like, deciding what to offer is an excuse that I hear a lot of times people use for not making an offer for something. Well, I'm not clear on what I want to offer, so I can't make money right now, or I can't sell this thing right now, rather than coming to a sales conversation and learning about what someone's needs are and then making an offer, a custom offer based on how you think you can help them. So I'm picking up on a little bit of like, I feel like I have to know everything before I can do something. And the actual doing could be just to make an offer. Just to start.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the other stuff is, I'm just getting more and learning more when you already have what you need to be able to do what you want to do. And I know this person too, so maybe that's why I have a little bit more insight.
Gotcha.
Okay, next question. Hello, David. I have a question about the laws. I took your natural laws course, but I have trouble understanding how they all work together to create the life we want. Can you explain? Are you planning on teaching a course on universal law alone and then its application to different areas of life? Is there a book you can recommend?
Well, yeah, you can get my book, The Millions Within. It goes into great detail around the laws. So understand this, a couple things about the laws. The laws are absolute truths in the universe, right? So they're scientific truths. They are religious truths. Like all the major religions in the world, these laws are based on, okay? They're absolute truths, but truths for what? They're truths to guide us in how we think. That's really what the laws are for. It expands the view of what we can see through our perception. So it tells us more about us. It's like, for instance, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. That law basically explains how energy moves and manifests through us and how energy moves and manifests through all of life. So if we understand that we're not just a thing, but we're a manifestation of a thing, we're a creation, and we are a creator, and we understand how that energy moves through us and creates, then we can start thinking in alignment with how that works. So if energy has all potential in it and it's constantly moving to and through me, when it enters my consciousness, my choice gives that energy the image in which it's going to turn into, either subconsciously or consciously. By the conscious use of my choice, I can switch that image and allow it to turn into something else. So that's one law. The law of vibration basically says that everything is on an electrical frequency, and it vibrates. Thoughts are also on a frequency. And if I'm thinking low thoughts, base thoughts that aren't very good, but I want to think higher thoughts, I have to move myself to a higher vibrational level of thinking. So if you're angry, if you're depressed, if you're upset, if you change what you focus on and move your thoughts to gratitude, you increase the frequency. Now, when I increase the frequency, I attract more thoughts on that frequency. So then I move into a creative mode and I can start to actually be productive in my life. So every one of these is an awareness so that we know how to think about life and how to think about what it is that we want to create in life. The law of polarity, which is like one of my favorite laws, because so many people live in the black and white reality of life. Like if they're not experiencing it, it's not real. Or if they are experiencing, that's all there is to experience. And it's simply not true. That law states that everything has an opposite and it's equal and opposite. So if I'm experiencing something, there's also another side to it that's present at the same time. Now that's very important if you want to think about, how do I change a result? How do I find something that I don't have? How do I get something that I don't have? How do I create something that I don't know how to create? Just the knowing that it's here removes the idea of like it's impossible. Because most people say it's impossible when they don't know how. But the law states that everything is here at the same time. So all these laws is a way for us to think beyond what our physical senses tell us about what we're experiencing in the moment. And yes, I'm always teaching something on the laws. So just pay attention and, we'll teach something at some point on them again, I'm sure.
The laws are in everything we do. Okay, next question. This one's from Candace. Hi, David. First of all, I want to say thank you for your training, such that I have used the past 9 weeks to keep my business running and really study to bring my business online. I've also enlisted my family to give me space so I can go after my dream. My core belief about making money is that I make it to support everyone, pay vendors, purchase things, but when it comes to my personal financial wealth, I don't have the fire. I can't see the access point to break free from this mindset. Do you have a recommendation?
Give yourself permission to want something just for you. That's it. You're not allowing yourself to want something for you. So you're programmed with what a lot of us were programmed with, which is that you have to put everybody else first but you. You got to change that. That means you have to allow yourself to want something and then go after it, get it, buy it, whatever it is. You have to start putting yourself first. Is it selfish? It's selfish. But the thing is that if you don't give yourself what you need first, you can't give anything to anybody else. You're giving less than yourself to other people, right? So don't care what anybody else thinks. Allow yourself to start wanting things and then give yourself permission to buy them. And you will skyrocket your income, believe me.
This next question is kind of an offshoot of that same question. It's coming from someone by anonymous, with the name of Anonymous. I'm having trouble finding my passion. You're saying I need to be obsessive about what I set out to do. I get this, but I'm having trouble finding or feeling this right now. Nothing I want to do seems to massively move me. What do you suggest to help me decide on this?
Is this like right? Is this only now, or are you getting like this is always with this person?
It doesn't say, it just says I'm having trouble finding my passion. Nothing I want to do seems to massively move me.
So if you know things that you enjoy, maybe it's not a passion, but you know that there's things that you enjoy, start going after those things. If there's nothing that you enjoy, like you're not enjoying anything that you're doing and you haven't found your passion, then maybe you need to shake life up a little bit and start trying different stuff. You're not trying enough stuff. You cannot keep doing the same set of things if you don't like them or they don't bring you joy and expect that to change. You got to get out of your comfort zone. Like maybe you need to leave the country. Maybe you need to quit your job and go do something else. Like go do other things that you, I mean, how many times, Steph, have we heard people say that they had no idea that they would love something and they tried it, whatever, and that's like, that's it. That was the whole thing for them. So you got to get out of your comfort zone and just go try different stuff until you find out what it is. That's part of our job in life. Unfortunately, not everybody had parents that gave them the experience of trying different things constantly until they found out what those kids really clicked with. But if they didn't, they didn't. You got to go do it yourself. Give yourself the permission to go try as many things as you possibly can until you find what you love.
Great. Next question is from Patty. What do you do when you are constantly growing and learning, but others try to sabotage you? They make you look bad or bully you because they are not growing.
Why do you allow them in your life? Like, I don't even allow them in my life. Walk away from them. Get them out. And if you can't get them out, you have to set a firm boundary, period. And here's the deal. So I'm assuming that these might be people that are close to you. Here's something that I think is very unfortunate. If you have people in your family that you can't set a boundary with, those are toxic people. And you really need to consider like either distancing yourself from them or cutting them off completely. That behavior is not okay for any single person. I don't care if you're married to that person, if it's your kids, if it's your parents, toxic behavior is never okay, period. You should be able to set a boundary for yourself no matter what. And other people need to respect that or they do not get to be in your life, period.
This question's from Christine. It's a little choppy, so I'll do my best to fill in the blanks a little bit. I'm in a dysfunctional marriage for over 4 decades, and I feel I'm dying in all areas of my life. I had chosen to leave for 2 years, but came back. Now I'm in the same pattern again. What holds me back is feeling it's such a shame to give up at this point after working so hard to grow myself. I'm confused about my Christian faith of keep enduring the race until the end and choosing my life or my well-being. I'm also afraid of hurting my adult child that I had to leave had I leave the relationship. How can I be sure I make the right choice either direction? I do have a courage issue, fear stronger now than 10 years ago when I first took the leave.
So I don't hear you making choices about anything that you want. All of your choices are out of some other consequence that somebody else is giving you or has suggested for you. You got to get really honest with yourself about what you want. And nothing and no relationship is ever worth staying in it just because you've been in it a long time. Like, that's ridiculous. That sounds like an addictive relationship to me. I would get the hell out of that as fast as you possibly can. Like, don't wait until your whole life is over to be like, fuck, why the hell did I stay in that relationship? You could be in an amazing relationship with you, just yourself, or some other amazing person, but you can't be in it until you get out and heal from this one. As far as you struggling with, I hear some of the foundational stuff that you're struggling with. I would get Neil Donald Walsh's trilogy, Conversations with God. Get into those 3 books and really allow some of the dogma to be lifted out of your mind around religion and life. I think you'll find it very, very eye-opening.
Thank you. Next question. I have a large financial goal. How do I build faith in myself? Faith also in the unseen that the goals I am working on will come true.
You have faith in the process. So if you don't have faith in yourself right now, you need to have faith in someone else or something else. So I tell people all the time, if you don't believe in yourself, believe in my belief that you can do something. Because I have a higher understanding about this than you do. So trust me in the fact that I believe that you can actually do something. I think that you seriously need to build faith in the way the universe works, the way God works, the way the human spirit works. And you will find the faith in yourself to do it. But here's something else that's very important. If you really want to build faith in yourself, you can never again say you're going to do something that you don't follow through on. Okay? Because what happens is we go through life and there's a horrible pattern that we get in. We say we're going to do something and then we don't do it. Every time we do that, we program our subconscious mind to quit or to give up on something. So we lose trust with ourselves. And if we lose trust with ourselves, it becomes very difficult to really trust anything else or put your faith in anything else. But you can rebuild this in yourself. And it starts off with taking very specific things that you really think about in your life, making a conscious choice to say, I'm going to say that I'm going to do this, and under no circumstances will I not do it. So you do that. You pick a couple of things. Do that for a few months. Then start adding things to that, and you'll rebuild your commitment muscle. If you do it, if you get to the point, and anybody can get to this point, everybody can get to this point. If you get to the point where you're 100% certain, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. There's nothing that you can't do when you rebuild that muscle inside of yourself. Whether it came from a bad childhood or it was just a bad habit that you started down the road with one day, so many people suffer from this, and it is soul destroying. It crushes your self-esteem. You lose your faith. You lose your certainty in yourself. And we don't even realize a lot of times we're going down rabbit holes trying to figure out why we ended up the way we were. And it's simply that we got a bad habit of backing out of things that we said that we were going to do, or nobody pushed us to stay in a commitment when we were younger. Everybody can rebuild this trust with themselves and do exactly what I said to do it in a very short period of time. You'll find that you have the confidence, the faith, the internal mental and emotional muscle to follow through on anything that you say you're going to do.
Next question is coming from Claire. Hi, Claire. I'm in the process of moving to another city. I'm noticing how much my subconscious does not want to let go of something that's good enough, which is my current home and situation, in order to be able to go for something better, the place I want to move to and the lifestyle changes that entails. I didn't know how strong of a belief this was for me until I started the process of actually selling my house and was physically feeling the fear. I think it is somehow related to the concept of safety. I still really want to do the move and I'm pushing through. Do you have any mindset suggestions for me as I'm carrying out this change, other than just moving forward to carry out the practical steps to make it happen, which I will keep doing?
So number one, be grateful. Be grateful every day. I think that the best practice a person could have when they first wake up in the morning is to sit down and write what they're grateful for, because it tells your mind what to focus on. Like seriously, we have these tools, but we don't use them. And if we don't use them, then our mind is focused on something else. So if you have a tool, like I'm giving you a recommendation that will completely change the way that you exist in life and how you experience life, but you got to do the damn thing. Gratitude, first thing every morning. Gratitude before you go to bed at night. Now, then start building a vision for yourself. Whatever you can see, right? And I think people very often will say, I can't get this big vision. Don't worry about a big vision. Whatever vision you can get, write it down on paper and start working toward that. Keep your word, follow through, and everything will change. It's amazing how fast everything will change.
Just from a practical standpoint, do you think when she starts to feel, she's moving out of the Midwest, do you think when she starts to feel
greatest gift she could ever give herself?
Yeah. To write down, like, I am so happy and grateful now that I'm living in a beautiful home in San Diego with a successful business, with a happy and healthy husband and children, like that type of gratitude,
100%
like
stuff.
Gratitude for what will be as well as gratitude for what is now.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Okay. There you go. Next question. Hold on. How long does it take to wire in a new habit?
If you do it, well, it all depends on, this is it. So the psychological idea is 90 days, right? However, it can actually happen a little faster. It all depends on how much you do it, the intensity of the emotion that you cultivate while you're doing something. Because if you don't do it consistently, and if you don't have the correct emotion with it consistently, it could possibly never happen. So it has to be very consistent, and you have to be in an emotional state that is accepting, it's a good emotional state, not a resistant emotional. Like, if you're going to start running every day, you don't want to get up and go, fuck, I hate running. I can't stand it. This sucks. You won't be running for very long. So you have to be in a very good emotional state along with the repetition, and you should be able to do it within 90 days, if not quicker.
Okay, last question. This question says, how can I work for dismantling white supremacy and racism within our country while staying focused on what I want for the world? How can I stay focused on my vision for the world I have without bypassing the issues?
I think you have to answer a very honest question, and that is it your purpose to solve those issues? Now, I'm not saying that it is or it isn't, but I often see people that are triggered by major problems that we have in society, in the world, but they get consumed by them. And what's happening is the problem is really owning them. It's just that they're so emotionally triggered by that problem, they're making the assumption that they're the one that's actually supposed to do something about it. The best thing, changing racism, is don't be racist yourself. Like, that is the best thing that a person can actually do. Here's the thing. I think Oprah nailed this very, very well. Somebody said to her, how do we get rid of racism? And basically what she said was, the racist people have to die. And I'll never forget when she said that. And I thought to myself, wait a minute, she's probably right. And the reason is because you cannot force someone to change their belief. You can't. Here's the other thing. Whether you like it or not, we don't even have the right to. I mean, it sucks that there's racist people out there, but we really don't have the right to say a person can't believe what they want to believe. Now, we can stop them from doing something to someone else, but the best thing is to stand for what you believe in every day of your own life. Be really clear, though. Is the problem getting a hold of you, or do you really feel it's part of your life's purpose? If it's part of your life's purpose, then you need to look at directing your life toward that issue and really stepping into it and thinking through it and looking at where can you help, where are you needed, what are your special expertises, and then getting fully involved in that. The other thing is hold a really great image of people. Remember this, racism is judgment, okay? That's what it is, it's judgment. When you judge a racist, you're just as guilty as the racist. You're judging. Racism is based in ignorance. That's what it is. It's ignorance that has turned into a belief. Now, it's very unfortunate, but you can't get rid of somebody judging something by judging that person. So the idea is, how do we bring consciousness? How do we bring awareness to the world so that the racism is not something that they get so hooked into? Nobody's born racist. Racism is taught, and it's taught based on fear and ignorance. So bring enlightenment to the world, bring truth to the world, but be careful not to bring judgment.
Okay, David, we are at the end of class 8. Do you have any wise words of wisdom for everyone before we sign off?
Yeah, let's do this, right? Create a big vision for yourself. If we can help you, please get a hold of us. We have all kinds of things going right now. We're all about being part of the solution. We want to help anybody that we can. Follow your vision. Don't let anything stop you, and go find someone else to help. Best thing you could do. Stay grateful. Bye, everyone.
Bye for now, everyone. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining me. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section, and let's continue the conversation. Have a great day.